My child, before you do anything else, stop for a moment. Take a breath and listen carefully. Do not scroll away. Do not let distraction pull your attention from this moment, because what is happening right now is not as ordinary as it appears. You may think you simply clicked on another video. You may think you arrived here by coincidence. You may believe this is just another message among thousands of others competing for your attention today. But my child, what if I told you that this moment was arranged long before you pressed play? What if I told you that I saw this very moment before you ever lived your first day? What if I told you that while you believed you were searching, it was actually I who was guiding you here? Listen closely, because this truth may change everything. You have been asking questions you have not spoken out loud, questions hidden deep within your heart, questions that followed you into sleepless nights, questions that sat beside you in silence when nobody else understood what you were carrying. You wondered, why am I feeling this way? Why does everything feel so heavy? Why does it seem like nobody truly sees me? Why do I keep waiting for something to change? And perhaps the hardest question of all, God, are you still there? My beloved child, I heard every one of those questions. Every single one, not one escaped my attention. Not one tear fell without me seeing it. Not one silent prayer disappeared into emptiness. I heard it all. Even when you thought heaven was silent. Even when you thought your words were hitting a wall. Even when you believed nobody was listening. I was there. I have always been there. And that is why I need your full attention right now. Because this message is not arriving by accident. This is not random. This is not luck. This is not coincidence. This is not an algorithm. This is not chance. You are here because I have something I need you to hear. Something your heart desperately needs. Something your spirit has been waiting for. Something that may explain why you have felt different lately. Have you noticed it? That strange feeling you have been carrying. That sense that something is changing. That quiet awareness that life cannot continue exactly as it has been. You have felt it. Perhaps you could not explain it. Perhaps you tried to ignore it. Perhaps you pushed it aside and told yourself you were imagining things. But my child, you were not imagining it. Something is shifting. Something is moving. Something has already begun. And that is why this moment matters. Because while you believed nothing was happening, I was working. While you thought the waiting was endless, I was preparing. While you wondered whether I had forgotten you, I was arranging things you could not yet see. There were doors I kept closed for your protection. There were paths I refused to let you walk. There were people I removed from your life. There were opportunities I prevented. And at the time, you did not understand. You thought I was withholding something from you. You thought I was delaying your blessing. You thought I was ignoring your request. But my child, I was protecting your future. You see only the moment. I see the entire journey. You see today's pain. I see tomorrow's restoration. You see the closed door. I see the danger behind it. You see the delay. I see the purpose. And because I see what you cannot see, I have never stopped guiding you. Even now, especially now. In fact, there is something I need you to understand. The very fact that you are listening to these words right now is evidence that I have not abandoned you. If I had left you, you would not be hearing this. If I had forgotten you, your spirit would not be stirring as these words reach your heart. If I had turned away from you, you would not feel this gentle pull to keep listening. But you are listening, and deep inside, something is telling you to stay. Something is telling you not to leave yet. Something is whispering that these words are different. That whisper is not your imagination. That whisper is my presence. Remember what my word says, "My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me." John 10:27, my child, I know you, not the version of you the world sees, not the version you show on difficult days, not the version hidden behind forced smiles. I know the real you. I know the fears you never tell anyone. I know the disappointments you still carry. I know the wounds that never fully healed. I know the prayers you have repeated so many times that you almost stopped believing they would be answered. I know the loneliness. I know the exhaustion. I know the confusion. I know the battles. I know the moments when you almost gave up. And because I know you completely, I also know something you do not yet know. I know where I am taking you. I know what I am preparing. I know what is coming. That is why I brought you here today. Not merely to comfort you, not merely to encourage you, not merely to remind you that I love you. Although all those things are true, no, there is a deeper reason, a much deeper reason. And before this message is over, you will begin to understand it. But first, I need you to do something. I need you to stop looking at your life through the lens of disappointment. Stop measuring your future by your past. Stop judging tomorrow by what happened yesterday. Stop assuming that because something has not happened yet, it never will. My child, your story is not over. The chapter you are in is not the final chapter. The waiting season is not your permanent address. The pain is not the conclusion. The confusion is not the ending. There is more, far more. And that is exactly why I arranged this moment. Because you are standing closer to a turning point than you realize. Closer than you think. Closer than you can currently see. In fact, there are things already happening around you that you have not noticed yet. Small movements, small shifts, small preparations. Small alignments. At first they seem insignificant, but soon they will connect together in ways that will leave you amazed. You will look back at this moment. You will remember these words. And you will realize that this was not simply another day. This was the beginning of understanding, the beginning of healing, the beginning of clarity, the beginning of a conversation between you and me that will change the direction of your journey. But stay with me. Do not leave yet, because there is something important I still need to reveal. Something connected to every tear you cried. Something connected to every battle you fought. Something connected to every lonely night you endured. Something connected to every prayer you thought went unanswered. And once you understand it, everything will start to make sense, because there is a reason I brought you here today that you still do not understand. My beloved child, stay with me. Because what I am about to reveal may change the way you view every difficult season you have ever walked through. For so long you believed my silence meant I was absent. You believed that because you could not hear my voice, I had stopped speaking. Because you could not see my hand, I had stopped working. Because your circumstances did not change, I had forgotten you. And little by little, a painful question began growing inside your heart. God, where are you? Perhaps you never spoke those words aloud. Perhaps you buried them deep inside yourself. Perhaps you felt guilty for even thinking them. But I heard the question anyway. I heard it during sleepless nights. I heard it during moments of disappointment. I heard it during seasons when prayer seemed to echo back in silence. I heard it when you looked around and saw others receiving blessings while your own situation remained unchanged. I heard it when you watched doors open for others while yours remained closed. I heard it when you asked for answers and received none. I heard it all, and today I want you to understand something important. Silence does not mean absence. Just because you cannot hear me does not mean I am not speaking. Just because you cannot see me does not mean I am not working. Just because nothing appears to be changing does not mean nothing is happening. My child, some of my greatest works happen in silence. Think about a seed buried beneath the ground. From the outside, it appears lifeless. Nothing seems to be happening. No growth, no movement, no evidence, only darkness, only waiting, only silence. Yet beneath the surface, everything is changing. Roots are forming. Strength is developing. Life is emerging. Preparation is happening. The greatest transformation occurs before anyone sees a single leaf. And my child, that is exactly what has been happening in your life. While you focused on what was visible, I was working in places you could not see. While you watched the surface, I was strengthening the roots. While you worried about the timing, I was preparing the future. You judged the season by what your eyes could observe, but I was working beyond your vision. There were conversations taking place that you never heard. There were dangers being removed that you never knew existed. There were opportunities being arranged that had not yet arrived. There were people being positioned. There were paths being prepared. There were prayers being answered in ways you could not yet recognize. The silence was not absence. The silence was preparation. Listen carefully, because this next truth is for the part of your heart that almost gave up. There were moments when I deliberately withheld the answer you wanted, not because I was ignoring you, not because I did not care, but because the answer you were asking for would have harmed you if it arrived too soon. You asked for a door. I saw what was waiting behind it. You asked for a relationship. I saw the pain it would bring. You asked for an opportunity. I saw the burden you were not yet ready to carry. You asked me to move immediately, but I could see years beyond the moment you were standing in. And because I love you, I protected you from things you could not understand. At the time, it felt like rejection. At the time, it felt unfair. At the time, it felt like heaven was silent. But now I need you to see it differently. Many of the closed doors you cried over were actually acts of mercy. Many of the delays you feared were acts of protection. Many of the disappointments that broke your heart prevented even greater pain. You simply could not see the entire picture. But I could. I always could. My child, remember what my word says. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. Isaiah 41:10. Notice what I did not say. I did not say you would always understand. I did not say you would always receive immediate answers. I did not say every road would be easy. I said I would be with you, and I have. Every step, every battle, every disappointment, every delay, every lonely night, every unanswered question, I have been there, even when you could not feel me, especially then. You see, feelings are not always facts. Some days you felt strong. Some days you felt weak. Some days you felt hopeful. Some days you felt abandoned. But my presence never changed. Your emotions moved like waves. My faithfulness remained like a mountain. The storm came and went. I remained. The seasons changed. I remained. People entered your life and left. I remained. Circumstances shifted. I remained. Failures happened. I remained. Heartbreak happened. I remained. Everything around you changed, but I never did. And there is something else I need you to know. Many times when you thought you were waiting on me, I was actually waiting on the right moment. Not because I needed more time, but because you did. There were lessons your spirit needed to learn. There was strength your heart needed to develop. There was wisdom your future required. There was healing that needed to happen before the next chapter could begin. Imagine giving a child the keys to a vehicle before they are ready. The gift itself is good, but the timing becomes dangerous. Likewise, some blessings become burdens when received too early. That is why my timing matters. That is why waiting matters. That is why preparation matters. And although you may not understand every reason today, one day you will look back and realize something extraordinary. You will realize I was never late, not once, not a single time. You will discover that every delay served a purpose. Every season shaped you. Every hardship strengthened you. Every closed door redirected you. Every unanswered prayer taught you something essential. You will see that even the moments that seemed empty were filled with my activity. Because I never stopped working, not for a second. Even now, as you listen to these words, even now, as your heart begins to reconsider the past, even now, as old questions rise to the surface, I am working. There are things moving right now that you cannot see. There are answers moving toward you. There are connections forming. There are opportunities approaching. There are breakthroughs developing. there are pieces falling into place. And although everything may look unchanged on the surface, the process has already begun. The seed is already growing beneath the soil. The roots are already expanding. The preparation is already underway. But my child, there is a deeper reason why the waiting became so difficult. A reason most people never understand. You thought the greatest battle was happening around you. You thought your struggle was with circumstances. You thought your challenge was the delay itself. But there was another battle taking place. A hidden battle, an unseen battle, a battle targeting your hope, a battle targeting your faith, a battle targeting your identity. Because while heaven was preparing your future, something else was trying to stop you from reaching it. And what the enemy tried to steal from you reveals something powerful about your destiny. Because the attacks were never random. The warfare was never random. The opposition was never random. There was a reason darkness fought so hard against you. And in the next part, I will reveal exactly why. Because what the enemy tried to take from you may be the greatest clue to what I placed inside you. And once you understand that truth, you will never see your struggles the same way again. Because what the enemy tried to steal was proof of what heaven intended to give. My beloved child, stay with me. Because what I am about to reveal may change the way you view every difficult season you have ever walked through. For so long, you believed my silence meant I was absent. You believed that because you could not hear my voice, I had stopped speaking. Because you could not see my hand, I had stopped working. Because your circumstances did not change, I had forgotten you. And little by little, a painful question began growing inside your heart. God, where are you? Perhaps you never spoke those words aloud. Perhaps you buried them deep inside yourself. Perhaps you felt guilty for even thinking them. But I heard the question anyway. I heard it during sleepless nights. I heard it during moments of disappointment. I heard it during seasons when prayer seemed to echo back in silence. I heard it when you looked around and saw others receiving blessings while your own situation remained unchanged. I heard it when you watched doors open for others while yours remained closed. I heard it when you asked for answers and received none. I heard it all. And today I want you to understand something important. Silence does not mean absence. Just because you cannot hear me does not mean I am not speaking. Just because you cannot see me does not mean I am not working. Just because nothing appears to be changing does not mean nothing is happening. My child, some of my greatest works happen in silence. Think about a seed buried beneath the ground. From the outside, it appears lifeless. Nothing seems to be happening, no growth, no movement, no evidence, only darkness, only waiting, only silence. Yet beneath the surface, everything is changing. Roots are forming, strength is developing, life is emerging, preparation is happening. The greatest transformation occurs before anyone sees a single leaf. And my child, that is exactly what has been happening in your life. While you focused on what was visible, I was working in places you could not see. While you watched the surface, I was strengthening the roots. While you worried about the timing, I was preparing the future. You judged the season by what your eyes could observe, but I was working beyond your vision. There were conversations taking place that you never heard. There were dangers being removed that you never knew existed. There were opportunities being arranged that had not yet arrived. There were people being positioned. There were paths being prepared. There were prayers being answered in ways you could not yet recognize. The silence was not absence. The silence was preparation. Listen carefully, because this next truth is for the part of your heart that almost gave up. There were moments when I deliberately withheld the answer you wanted. Not because I was ignoring you, not because I did not care, but because the answer you were asking for would have harmed you if it arrived too soon. You asked for a door. I saw what was waiting behind it. You asked for a relationship. I saw the pain it would bring. You asked for an opportunity. I saw the burden you were not yet ready to carry. You asked me to move immediately, but I could see years beyond the moment you were standing in. And because I love you, I protected you from things you could not understand. At the time, it felt like rejection. At the time, it felt unfair. At the time, it felt like heaven was silent. But now I need you to see it differently. Many of the closed doors you cried over were actually acts of mercy. Many of the delays you feared were acts of protection. Many of the disappointments that broke your heart prevented even greater pain. You simply could not see the entire picture. But I could. I always could, my child. Remember what my word says. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. Isaiah 41:10. Notice what I did not say. I did not say you would always understand. I did not say you would always receive immediate answers. I did not say every road would be easy. I said I would be with you, and I have. Every step, every battle, every disappointment, every delay, every lonely night, every unanswered question, I have been there, even when you could not feel me, especially then. You see, feelings are not always facts. Some days you felt strong, some days you felt weak. Some days you felt hopeful, some days you felt abandoned, but my presence never changed. Your emotions moved like waves. My faithfulness remained like a mountain. The storm came and went. I remained. The seasons changed. I remained. People entered your life and left. I remained. Circumstances shifted. I remained. Failures happened. I remained. Heartbreak happened. I remained. Everything around you changed, but I never did. And there is something else I need you to know. Many times when you thought you were waiting on me, I was actually waiting on the right moment. Not because I needed more time, but because you did. There were lessons your spirit needed to learn. There was strength your heart needed to develop. There was wisdom your future required. There was healing that needed to happen before the next chapter could begin. Imagine giving a child the keys to a vehicle before they are ready. The gift itself is good, but the timing becomes dangerous. Likewise, some blessings become burdens when received too early. That is why my timing matters. That is why waiting matters. That is why preparation matters. And although you may not understand every reason today, one day you will look back and realize something extraordinary. You will realize I was never late. Not once, not a single time. You will discover that every delay served a purpose. Every season shaped you. Every hardship strengthened you. Every closed door redirected you. Every unanswered prayer taught you something essential. You will see that even the moments that seemed empty were filled with my activity. Because I never stopped working, not for a second. Even now, as you listen to these words, even now, as your heart begins to reconsider the past, even now, as old questions rise to the surface, I am working. There are things moving right now that you cannot see. There are answers moving toward you. There are connections forming. There are opportunities approaching. There are breakthroughs developing. There are pieces falling into place. And although everything may look unchanged on the surface, the process has already begun. The seed is already growing beneath the soil. The roots are already expanding. The preparation is already underway. But my child, there is a deeper reason why the waiting became so difficult. A reason most people never understand. You thought the greatest battle was happening around you. You thought your struggle was with circumstances. You thought your challenge was the delay itself. But there was another battle taking place. A hidden battle, an unseen battle. A battle targeting your hope. A battle targeting your faith. A battle targeting your identity. Because while heaven was preparing your future, something else was trying to stop you from reaching it. And what the enemy tried to steal from you reveals something powerful about your destiny. Because the attacks were never random. The warfare was never random. The opposition was never random. And in the next part, I will reveal exactly why. Because what the enemy tried to take from you may be the greatest clue to what I placed inside you. And once you understand that truth, you will never see your struggles the same way again. because what the enemy tried to steal was proof of what heaven intended to give. My beloved child, listen carefully now, because what I am about to reveal may completely change how you see every battle you have ever faced. For years, you believed your struggles were random. You believed the disappointments were random. You believed the attacks were random. You believed the heartbreaks were random. You believed the delays were random. But they were not. There was a pattern. There was a reason. There was a target. And the target was never simply your circumstances. The enemy was after something much deeper, something far more valuable, something heaven placed inside you long before you were born. You see, my child, the enemy does not waste energy attacking what has no value. Darkness does not fight empty things. A thief does not break into an empty house. A robber does not risk everything for something worthless. The intensity of the attack often reveals the value of what is being protected. Think about your life. How many times have you found yourself fighting battles that seemed bigger than you? How many times did you wonder why everything felt harder than it should? How many times did you question why fear seemed to follow you? Why discouragement kept returning? Why setbacks appeared whenever progress was near? Why doubt arrived whenever faith started growing? Have you ever wondered why? My child, there is a reason. Because the enemy saw something in you before you saw it yourself. The enemy recognized potential that you had not yet discovered. The enemy recognized purpose that had not yet awakened. The enemy recognized strength that was still hidden beneath your pain. And because he saw it, he tried to stop it. Not because he is powerful, but because he was afraid of who you would become. Afraid of what would happen once you understood your purpose. Afraid of what would happen once you stopped believing the lies. Afraid of what would happen once you finally recognized who you truly are. Listen closely. The enemy did not primarily try to steal your money. He did not primarily try to steal your opportunities. He did not primarily try to steal your success. Those were only secondary targets. The real target was your hope. Because if he could steal your hope, he could weaken your future. If he could steal your faith, he could delay your progress. If he could steal your confidence, he could keep you questioning yourself. If he could steal your identity, he could keep you trapped. That was the real battle. And many times you didn't even realize it. You thought you were fighting circumstances, but the battle was happening inside your mind, inside your heart, inside your spirit. The enemy whispered, "You are not enough. You will never change. Nothing will get better. God has forgotten you. You are alone. You are unworthy. You have failed too many times. You should just give up." And over time, those whispers became exhausting because they appeared during your weakest moments. They appeared when you were already hurting. They appeared when disappointment had already wounded you. They appeared when you felt vulnerable. But my child, those lies were never the truth. Not then, not now, not ever. Because what I say about you matters more than what darkness says about you. And what I say is this: you are chosen. You are loved. You are known. You are protected. You are valuable. You are called. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are not defeated. You belong to me. Remember what my word says. The thief cometh not, but for to steal, and to kill, and to destroy. I am come that they might have life. John 10:10. Notice the difference. The enemy steals. I restore. The enemy destroys. I rebuild. The enemy condemns. I redeem. The enemy weakens. I strengthen. The enemy creates fear. I bring peace. The enemy spreads confusion. I bring clarity. That is why you must stop measuring yourself by your wounds. Your wounds tell only part of the story. Your scars tell only part of the story. Your failures tell only part of the story. There is another part, a greater part, a hidden part. The part the enemy desperately hoped you would never discover. Because beneath every battle there was something he could not destroy. Your purpose, my child. Think about everything you survived. Think about everything that should have broken you. Think about every season that felt impossible. Yet somehow you are still here, you are still breathing, you are still listening, you are still moving forward. Why? Because I preserved something inside you, something darkness could not reach, something stronger than fear, something stronger than disappointment, something stronger than failure, something stronger than every attack. My purpose, my calling, my hand upon your life. There were moments when the enemy believed he had won, moments when he thought the heartbreak would destroy you, moments when he thought the rejection would define you, moments when he thought the delay would make you quit, moments when he thought the loneliness would silence you. But every time he thought the story was over, I stepped in, not always in ways you recognized, not always in ways you expected, but I was there, strengthening you, protecting you, guiding you, keeping you alive, keeping your spirit intact, preserving your future. Because I was never going to allow darkness to write the final chapter of your story. That chapter belongs to me. And there is something else you need to understand. Many of the attacks were actually evidence that you were moving in the right direction. The closer you came to growth, the stronger the resistance became. The closer you came to healing, the louder fear became. The closer you came to freedom, the more intense the discouragement became. Why? Because darkness reacts when it senses change. Darkness reacts when chains begin breaking. Darkness reacts when truth begins replacing lies. Darkness reacts when a child of God starts waking up. And my child, you are waking up. Slowly, quietly, but surely, the lies are losing their grip. The fear is losing its power. The shame is losing its control. The confusion is beginning to fade, and the enemy knows it. That is why the battle became so intense. Because he understands something that many people do not. He understands what happens when a person fully trusts me. He understands what happens when a wounded heart becomes healed. He understands what happens when a fearful person becomes courageous. He understands what happens when someone stops listening to lies and starts listening to my voice. Everything changes. That is why he fought so hard. But listen carefully, because this next truth is important. The enemy made one critical mistake. One mistake that changed everything. He thought the battle would destroy you. Instead, it developed you. He thought the pain would weaken you. Instead, it strengthened you. He thought the waiting would break your faith. Instead, it deepened your trust. He thought the storm would bury your purpose. Instead, it revealed it. What was sent against you became training for you. What was meant to stop you prepared you. What was meant to crush you matured you. What was meant to destroy your future helped shape it. The enemy could attack you, but he could not stop my plan. He could delay some things, but he could not cancel your destiny. He could create obstacles, but he could not remove my hand from your life. And now, my beloved child, you are beginning to stand at the edge of a realization that changes everything. The waiting season was not empty. The battles were not meaningless. The pain was not pointless. The attacks were not random. All of it was preparing you for something bigger than you currently understand. Something connected to the next chapter I am bringing into your life. Because there is a reason I allowed the waiting. There is a reason the answer did not come immediately. There is a reason the door remained closed longer than you expected. And once you understand why, you will stop seeing the delay as punishment. You will finally recognize it as protection. Because what felt like rejection was actually preparation. And what felt like delay was actually mercy. Because the waiting was never working against you. The waiting was working for you. And in the next part, I will show you exactly why. Because the reason I allowed the waiting changes everything. My beloved child, take a deep breath and let these words settle gently into your spirit. Because what I am about to reveal may heal a question that has lived inside you for a very long time. A question you have carried through years of uncertainty. A question whispered through tears. A question hidden behind countless prayers. The question is simple, yet it has weighed heavily upon your heart. Why did I have to wait so long? Why did the answer not come sooner? Why did the door stay closed? Why did the breakthrough take so long? Why did the healing seem delayed? Why did the restoration not arrive when I desperately needed it? My child, I know you have asked these questions. I know there were moments when the waiting felt unbearable, moments when you watched others move ahead while you remained standing in the same place, moments when you saw blessings arrive for others while your own prayers seemed unanswered, moments when you wondered if I had overlooked you, moments when you feared that perhaps your answer would never come. But listen carefully, because there is a truth you must understand. The waiting was never punishment. The waiting was protection. You believed I was withholding something from you, but I was actually preserving something for you. You believed I was saying no, but often I was saying not yet. You believed the delay meant rejection, but the delay was preparation, my child. There is a tremendous difference between a closed door and an unfinished season. Many times you thought a delay meant the end, but I knew it was only the beginning. You see only today's discomfort. I see tomorrow's blessing. You see the frustration of waiting. I see the danger of arriving too early. Imagine a fruit picked before it is ripe. It may appear ready, it may look complete, but inside it has not reached its full potential. Its sweetness has not developed, its purpose has not matured. Likewise, there were blessings prepared for you that required time. Not because I needed time, but because the blessing itself needed the right season. And so did you. There were lessons your spirit needed to learn. There was wisdom your heart needed to gain. There was healing your soul needed to experience. There was strength your character needed to develop. The waiting was shaping you, even when you could not see it, especially then, my child. Some of the things you prayed for years ago would have harmed you if they had arrived immediately. You cannot see that now, but one day you will. There were relationships you desperately wanted, relationships you cried over, relationships you begged me to restore. Yet I saw where those paths would lead. I saw the heartbreak ahead. I saw the compromise ahead. I saw the pain hidden beneath what appeared beautiful. And because I love you, I protected you from what you could not see. At the time it felt cruel. At the time it felt unfair. At the time it felt like silence. But it was mercy, pure mercy. There were opportunities you desperately wanted. Doors you prayed would open. Situations you believed would solve all your problems. Yet I knew those opportunities would have taken you away from the future I prepared. So I closed the door, not to hurt you, but to guide you, not to punish you, but to protect you, not to deny you, but to preserve something better. My beloved, many of the prayers I did not answer immediately became future testimonies, because later you realized what I had been protecting you from. Later you saw what I already knew. Later you understood that my wisdom was greater than your understanding. And when that realization came, your trust grew deeper. That is one of the hidden purposes of waiting. Waiting teaches trust. Trust cannot be developed when everything happens instantly. Trust grows in uncertainty. Trust grows in surrender. Trust grows when you continue believing even without immediate evidence. And my child, that is exactly what you have been learning. You may not realize it, but your faith is stronger today than it was years ago. Your heart is wiser, your spirit is deeper, your understanding is greater. The person listening to these words now is not the same person who first entered the waiting season. The old version of you would not have been ready for what is coming, but the version I have been shaping, the version formed through prayer, the version refined through tears, the version strengthened through struggle, that version is becoming ready. And this is why the waiting mattered. Remember what my word says, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love God. Romans 8:28. Notice that I did not say all things would feel good. I did not say all things would make sense immediately. I did not say every season would be enjoyable. I said all things work together for good. Even the waiting, even the disappointment, even the confusion, even the delays, even the seasons when you felt forgotten. I have been weaving everything together, every experience, every lesson, every challenge, every victory, every tear, every prayer. Nothing has been wasted, nothing, my child. There were moments when you believed your life had stopped moving, but it never stopped. Growth was happening, healing was happening, transformation was happening. You simply could not measure it with human eyes. The greatest changes were happening beneath the surface, much like roots growing underground. Nobody applauds roots. Nobody celebrates roots. Nobody even sees roots. Yet roots determine the strength of everything that comes later. And I was building roots inside you. Roots of faith, roots of endurance, roots of wisdom, roots of humility, roots of dependence upon me. Because what I am preparing requires strong foundations. What is coming cannot be sustained by a weak spirit. What is coming cannot be carried by an unprepared heart. What is coming requires the person you are becoming, not the person you were. And that is why the waiting could not be skipped. The process could not be rushed. The preparation could not be avoided. Because what I have prepared for you is greater than you currently understand. Much greater. In fact, my child, there were times when you asked me to remove the process. But if I had removed the process, I would have removed the preparation. And if I had removed the preparation, you would have struggled to carry the blessing. That is why I allowed the waiting. Not because I wanted to see you suffer. Not because I wanted you to feel abandoned. Not because I enjoyed watching you struggle. But because I loved you too much to give you something before you were ready to receive it. My timing is not designed to frustrate you. My timing is designed to protect you. And one day you will thank me for every delay. One day you will look back and understand. One day you will see how perfectly everything was arranged. One day you will recognize that not a single season was wasted. Not one prayer, not one tear, not one lonely night. Not one unanswered question. It was all working together, even when you could not see it. Especially when you could not see it. And now, my beloved child, something important is happening. The season is beginning to shift. The lessons are becoming clearer. The preparation is moving toward completion. The roots have been growing for a long time, longer than you realize. And because of that, something is starting to happen inside you. Something more important than any external blessing. Something more valuable than any open door. Something more powerful than any breakthrough. I have been changing you quietly, deeply, from the inside out. The waiting was never only about what I wanted to give you. The waiting was also about who I was preparing you to become. And what I have been building inside you may be the greatest miracle of all. Because before I change your circumstances, I change your heart. Before I transform your surroundings, I transform you. And in the next part, I will reveal the hidden work I have been doing inside you all along. A work so deep that many people never recognize it until their entire life begins to change. Because while you were waiting for the breakthrough was already beginning within you. My beloved child, come closer, quiet your thoughts for a moment. Because what I am about to reveal is one of the greatest mysteries of your journey. It is something many people never understand. They spend years praying for their circumstances to change, years asking for open doors, years asking for miracles, years asking for visible breakthroughs. Yet all along they overlook the greatest work I am doing, the work within them and my child. That hidden work is exactly what has been happening inside you. For so long, you measured progress by what you could see. You looked at your surroundings. You looked at your bank account. You looked at relationships. You looked at opportunities. You looked at external results. And because those things did not always change as quickly as you hoped, you assumed nothing was happening. But that was never true. Something was happening. Something profound, something powerful, something eternal. I was working inside you, quietly, patiently, faithfully, every single day, even when you could not feel it, even when you doubted it, even when you questioned whether anything was changing at all. My child, transformation often begins long before it becomes visible. A caterpillar does not become a butterfly overnight. A seed does not become a tree overnight. A child does not become an adult overnight. Growth requires a process, and the most important stages often happen where nobody can see them, including you. There were moments when you believed you were standing still, yet your heart was becoming stronger. There were moments when you felt weak, yet your faith was growing deeper. There were moments when you felt broken, yet your character was being refined. There were moments when you felt lost, yet wisdom was quietly developing inside you. You could not see it then, but you are not the same person you once were. Think back for a moment. Think about who you were before the struggle, before the waiting season, before the disappointment, before the battles. You were different, not worse, not better, simply different. You had not yet learned certain lessons. You had not yet discovered certain strengths. You had not yet experienced my faithfulness in the way you do now. You had not yet developed the resilience you carry today. The person you are becoming could only emerge through the process. And that is why I allowed it. Not to harm you, but to shape you, my child. There are things I can only teach in the waiting. There are things I can only reveal in silence. There are things I can only develop through process. Because some lessons cannot be learned through information. They must be learned through experience. You can read about patience, but waiting develops patience. You can hear about trust, but uncertainty develops trust. You can study endurance, but hardship develops endurance. You can talk about faith, but walking through darkness develops faith. And that is exactly what has been happening. While you thought you were merely surviving, I was preparing. While you thought you were merely enduring, I was transforming. While you thought you were merely waiting, I was building. My beloved, one of the greatest miracles I perform is not changing circumstances. It is changing hearts, because when the heart changes, everything else eventually follows. That is why I spent so much time working within you. I needed to remove things that could not go where I am taking you. Old fears, old wounds, old lies, old habits, old limitations, old ways of seeing yourself. There were beliefs about yourself that were never true, yet you carried them for years. You believed you were unworthy. You believed you were forgotten. You believed you were incapable. You believed you would never change. You believed your mistakes defined you. And little by little, I have been tearing down those lies, replacing them with truth, replacing fear with faith, replacing shame with grace, replacing confusion with understanding, replacing weakness with strength. You may not notice it every day, but it is happening, even now. In fact, my child, as you listen to these words, the transformation continues. Your spirit is hearing things your mind has forgotten. Your heart is remembering truths it almost abandoned. Your soul is awakening to realities that have always existed, because deep inside, you know there is more for your life. Deep inside, you know this season cannot last forever. Deep inside, you know I am preparing something. And that feeling is not accidental. It comes from me. I placed it there. It is a reminder that your story is still unfolding. My child, there is another reason the hidden work matters so much. Because what I am preparing to place into your hands requires a different version of you. The blessing requires growth. The opportunity requires wisdom. The assignment requires maturity. The next season requires preparation. Imagine building a house on weak foundations. It may stand for a while, but eventually it collapses. That is why foundations matter, and that is why I spent so much time strengthening yours. I was building foundations nobody could see. Foundations of trust, foundations of humility, foundations of faithfulness, foundations of dependence upon me, because what is built deeply lasts longer. What is built quickly often falls quickly. And I am interested in permanence, not temporary success, not temporary excitement, not temporary emotions. I am building something that can endure, something that can survive storms, something that can carry weight, something that can bless not only you, but others through you. And that requires preparation. Remember what my word says, and let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. James 1:4. Notice those words. Perfect work. Not partial work, not unfinished work, complete work. Because I do not begin what I do not intend to finish, and I have not finished with you. Not even close. In fact, some of the greatest parts of your journey are still ahead. The enemy wants you to believe the best is behind you. But that is a lie. The enemy wants you to believe your opportunities are gone. But that is a lie. The enemy wants you to believe you have waited too long. But that is a lie. My child, the hidden work inside you is producing something beautiful, something stronger than before, something wiser than before, something more compassionate than before, something more courageous than before. You may not recognize it yet, but others will. Soon, people will notice a difference, not because your circumstances changed overnight, but because you changed. There will be a new peace within you, a new confidence, a new clarity, a new stability, a new sense of purpose, and that inner transformation will begin affecting everything around you. Because what happens inside eventually manifests outside. That is my design. The breakthrough begins within before it appears around you. The healing begins within before it appears around you. The restoration begins within before it appears around you. The new season begins within before it appears around you. And my child, the new season has already started. Not fully, not visibly, but internally. The process has begun. The roots are growing. The foundation is strengthening. The transformation is unfolding. You are becoming someone stronger than fear, someone wiser than pain, someone deeper than disappointment, someone more prepared than you realize. And there is something else I need you to understand. This hidden work is creating a moment that is approaching faster than you think, a moment when everything I have been teaching you will suddenly make sense, a moment when the lessons connect, a moment when the preparation becomes visible, a moment when you realize why the process was necessary. Because very soon, my beloved child, I am going to place a question before you, a question that will determine how you step into the next season, a question that heaven has been preparing your heart to answer, a question far more important than any circumstance, a question far more important than any blessing. A question that reveals whether you are truly ready for what comes next. And in the next part, I will ask you that question, because heaven is waiting for your answer, and your answer has the power to change everything. My beloved child, stay with me. Do not rush through this moment, because everything we have spoken about so far has been leading to this. The waiting, the tears, the lessons, the battles, the silence, the hidden work, none of it was random. All of it has been preparing your heart for a single question. A question heaven has been waiting to ask. A question more important than the blessing you seek. More important than the door you want opened. More important than the answer you have been waiting to receive. And before I ask it, I need you to listen carefully, because your response to this question will shape how you enter the next season of your life. My child, for years you have been asking me questions. Lord, when will things change? When will the breakthrough come? When will the healing happen? When will the answer arrive? When will I finally understand? And those are honest questions, beautiful questions, human questions. But now, for a moment, I want to reverse the conversation. For a moment, I want to ask you a question, not to condemn you, not to test you, not to shame you, but to reveal something hidden inside your own heart. Because many people say they trust me when life is easy. Many people say they trust me when prayers are answered quickly. Many people say they trust me when blessings are visible. But trust becomes real when the outcome is still unseen. Trust becomes real when the evidence has not arrived. Trust becomes real when the answer is delayed. Trust becomes real when faith is all you have left. And so today, my child, Heaven asks you this: will you trust me before you see the evidence? Will you trust me before the door opens? Will you trust me before the healing appears? Will you trust me before the miracle arrives? Will you trust me while you are still walking through uncertainty? Pause for a moment. Let that question settle deep within your spirit, because your answer matters more than you realize. You see, my child, the enemy convinced many people that trust is a feeling. But trust is not a feeling. Trust is a decision. Feelings change, circumstances change, opinions change, but trust is a choice. A choice to believe my character even when you cannot understand my timing. A choice to believe my promises even when you cannot see the outcome. A choice to believe my goodness even when life feels difficult. And that is the question before you now. Not whether you understand everything, not whether you have all the answers, not whether your journey has been perfect. The question is simple: will you trust me? Because if you truly understood how much I love you, that question would become easier. My child, I have never once stopped working on your behalf. Not once, even during your darkest seasons, even during your greatest disappointments, even during your deepest confusion. I remained faithful, I remained present, I remained committed to your future. Yet there were times when fear tried to convince you otherwise. Fear whispered, what if nothing changes? What if this prayer goes unanswered? What if the breakthrough never comes? What if you're hoping for something that isn't real? Those thoughts exhausted you. Those thoughts stole your peace. Those thoughts kept you awake at night. But those thoughts never came from me, because my voice does not create fear. My voice creates faith. My voice creates peace. My voice creates confidence. My voice reminds you that I am still in control. Even when circumstances seem chaotic, even when answers seem delayed, even when uncertainty surrounds you, my beloved, trust is not pretending everything is perfect. Trust is believing I remain faithful even when things are imperfect. Trust is not denying your struggles. Trust is bringing your struggles to me. Trust is not acting strong all the time. Trust is leaning on my strength when yours feels insufficient. Trust is not having every answer. Trust is knowing the one who does. And that is why this question matters so much. Because the next season requires trust. Not perfect understanding, not perfect performance. Trust. Remember what my word says. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. Proverbs 3:5. Notice those words carefully. Do not lean on your own understanding. Why? Because your understanding is limited. You can only see a small portion of the story. You see today. I see forever. You see the obstacle. I see the opportunity hidden behind it. You see the delay. I see the preparation. You see the closed door. I see the better door waiting ahead. That is why trust is necessary, because there will always be moments when your understanding is incomplete. And in those moments, trust becomes the bridge that carries you forward. My child, let me tell you something that may surprise you. The breakthrough you have been praying for is not the greatest miracle. The greatest miracle is the trust being formed inside you right now. Because once trust is established, fear loses power. Once trust is established, uncertainty loses its grip. Once trust is established, peace becomes possible even before circumstances improve. And that is exactly what heaven has been building inside you. You thought the waiting was only about receiving something, but the waiting was also about becoming someone who trusts me more deeply, someone who walks by faith rather than fear, someone who remains steady during uncertainty, someone prepared for greater responsibility, someone prepared for greater blessing, someone prepared for greater purpose. My beloved child, I know trusting me has not always been easy. I know there were moments when disappointment made trust difficult. I know there were moments when heartbreak made trust difficult. I know there were moments when unanswered prayers made trust difficult. I understand. I truly do. That is why I have been patient with you. That is why I never stopped walking beside you. That is why I never stopped reminding you of my love. Because I knew this moment would come. The moment when your faith would mature. The moment when your heart would begin to understand. The moment when trust would start replacing fear. And I believe that moment is happening right now. Even as you listen, even as these words reach your spirit, something is changing, something is awakening, something is strengthening inside you. The trust that heaven has been cultivating for so long is beginning to grow, and that trust is about to lead you somewhere extraordinary. Because there is something I need you to know. The door you have been waiting for, the opportunity you have been praying for, the next chapter you have been hoping for, may be closer than you think, much closer. In fact, my child, there is a possibility you have overlooked, a possibility hidden in plain sight, a possibility that changes everything. You keep asking me to open a door. You keep asking me to make a way. You keep asking me to create an opportunity. But what if I told you something surprising? What if I told you the door is already open? What if I told you the opportunity already exists? What if I told you the next season has already begun moving toward you? The question is no longer whether I will open the door. The question is whether you will trust me enough to walk through it. And in the next part, I am going to reveal something that will completely change the way you see your future. Because the door you thought was closed may already be standing open before you. You simply have not recognized it yet. And once you do, everything begins to change. My beloved child, stay with me now, because what I am about to reveal may completely change how you see your future. For a long time, you have been praying for a door to open. You have asked me for opportunities. You have asked me for breakthroughs. You have asked me for answers. You have asked me for movement. You have asked me to make a way where there seems to be no way. And because you have not yet seen the full manifestation of what you prayed for, you assumed the door remained closed. But my child, what if I told you that the door is already open? What if I told you that the very thing you have been waiting for has already begun moving toward you? What if I told you that heaven is no longer waiting on the door? Heaven is waiting on your willingness to walk forward. Listen carefully, because many people spend their lives praying for doors that are already standing open, not because the door is invisible, but because fear keeps them from seeing it. Doubt keeps them from recognizing it. Past disappointments keep them from trusting it. My beloved, you have become so accustomed to waiting that sometimes you struggle to recognize movement when it finally arrives. You became familiar with uncertainty, familiar with delay, familiar with disappointment. And because those seasons lasted longer than expected, your mind quietly adjusted to expecting more of the same. Without realizing it, you began preparing for more waiting. More delays, more setbacks, more uncertainty, but something is changing. The season is shifting, and many of the signs are already around you. You simply have not connected them yet. Have you noticed how certain things no longer satisfy you the way they once did? Have you noticed how old fears no longer control you with the same intensity? Have you noticed how some relationships feel different? How certain environments no longer feel comfortable? How old mindsets no longer fit who you are becoming? Those are not random feelings, those are signs. Signs that the old season is losing its hold. Signs that growth has already begun. Signs that the door is closer than you think. My child, remember what my word says. Behold, I have set before thee an open door, and no man can shut it. Revelation 3:8, notice what I said. I have set before thee an open door. Not I will someday, not perhaps, not eventually. I have. The door is already there. The opportunity already exists. The path already exists. The future already exists. The question is whether you are willing to trust me enough to step toward it. Because here is the truth. The greatest obstacle is no longer the closed door. The greatest obstacle is the fear created by previous disappointments. The enemy knows this. That is why he worked so hard to convince you that nothing would ever change. Because if he can keep you focused on past failures, you will hesitate when new opportunities appear. If he can keep you focused on yesterday's pain, you may miss tomorrow's blessing. If he can keep you looking backward, you will struggle to move forward. And that is exactly what he wants. But my child, you cannot enter a new season while living entirely in an old one. You cannot embrace a new chapter while constantly replaying previous chapters. You cannot recognize an open door while staring at a closed one. That is why I have spent so much time healing your heart, strengthening your faith, renewing your mind, preparing your spirit, because preparation always comes before transition, and transition is closer than you realize. Listen carefully. There are opportunities developing that you cannot yet see. There are conversations taking place that you have not heard. There are connections forming that you have not encountered. There are answers moving toward you that have not yet arrived. There are pieces falling into place behind the scenes. You may not recognize them today, but soon you will. Very soon. And when they appear, you will understand why the waiting was necessary. You will understand why the preparation mattered. You will understand why the process could not be rushed. Because everything has been moving toward this moment, my beloved. One of the greatest mistakes people make is assuming that an open door always looks dramatic. Sometimes it does. Sometimes miracles happen suddenly. Sometimes breakthroughs arrive unexpectedly, but often my doors open quietly. A conversation, a new perspective, an unexpected opportunity, a restored relationship, a fresh sense of peace, a simple act of obedience, a small step forward. And because the beginning appears small, many people overlook it. They continue praying for a door that has already opened. Do not make that mistake. Pay attention, watch carefully, stay close to me, because I am already beginning to reveal the next steps. And the more you trust me, the clearer they will become. My child, the future you have been praying for does not begin with a giant leap. It begins with a step, one step of faith, one decision to trust, one choice to move forward, one willingness to obey. That is all. You do not need every answer. You do not need every detail. You do not need to see the entire road. You only need enough faith for the next step, and I will provide the rest. That is how I have always worked. I reveal enough for obedience, then I reveal more. I reveal enough for trust, then I reveal more. I reveal enough for faith, then I reveal more. Because relationship grows through trust, and trust grows through walking with me. My beloved child, you are standing closer to breakthrough than you realize. Closer to clarity, closer to healing, closer to restoration. Closer to purpose, closer to peace. The signs are already appearing. The shifts are already happening. The preparation is already complete in ways you do not yet understand. But there is still something holding many people back. Something hidden. Something heavy. Something they continue carrying from the previous season. Something that prevents them from fully stepping through the open door. And perhaps you are carrying it too. Because while the door is open, your hands are still full. Full of old wounds, old disappointments, old regrets, old fears, old offenses, old pain. And my child, you cannot fully receive what is ahead while holding tightly to what belongs behind. There are things that must be released before you can fully enter the new season. Not because I demand perfection, but because I desire freedom for you. Freedom from the weight. Freedom from the bitterness, freedom from the regret, freedom from the fear. The open door is not the issue. The issue is what you are still carrying toward it. And in the next part, I am going to reveal exactly what must be released before you can fully enter what I have prepared. because one burden in particular has been quietly slowing your progress. One burden that has followed you for longer than you realize. One burden that I am asking you to place into my hands today, and once you release it, you will begin to experience a freedom you have not felt in a very long time. Because before you enter the new season, there is something you must leave behind. My beloved child, stay with me, because this may be one of the most important things I have spoken to your heart so far. You have prayed for a new season. You have prayed for healing. You have prayed for restoration. You have prayed for breakthrough, and I have heard every prayer. I have seen every tear. I have watched every struggle. And yes, the door is open. The new season is real. The path forward exists. But before you fully step into what I have prepared, there is something I need you to understand. You cannot carry yesterday's chains into tomorrow's freedom. You cannot bring old burdens into a new season. You cannot fully embrace what is ahead while clinging tightly to what belongs behind. And my child, many people never enter the fullness of what I prepared because they continue carrying things I never asked them to carry. They carry old wounds, old fears, old offenses, old disappointments, old guilt, old shame, old regret. The weight becomes familiar, so familiar that they no longer realize how heavy it is. Perhaps that is where you are today. Perhaps you have carried certain things for so long that they have started to feel normal. But my child, just because something feels familiar does not mean it belongs in your life. Listen carefully. What is the first thing your thoughts return to when you are alone? What memory still causes pain? What disappointment still makes your heart ache? What betrayal still visits your mind? What mistake do you keep replaying? What regret continues to follow you? Because often the thing you need to release is the very thing you keep revisiting. You return to it. You think about it. You analyze it. You relive it. You wish you could change it. You wish you could undo it. You wish you could rewrite the story. But you cannot, and neither do you need to, because I am not asking you to rewrite your past. I am asking you to release it, my beloved. One of the greatest traps of the enemy is convincing you that healing comes from repeatedly revisiting the wound. But that is not always true. Sometimes healing begins when you finally surrender the wound to me. Sometimes freedom begins when you stop carrying what I am willing to carry for you. You have been holding burdens that were never yours to keep. The betrayal was real. The pain was real. The disappointment was real. The rejection was real. I am not denying any of that. I saw it all. I know exactly what happened. I know exactly how deeply it hurt. I know exactly how long it affected you. I know exactly why it became difficult to trust again. But my child, the event may have happened years ago, yet you continue reliving it today. The wound happened once, but the memory keeps reopening it. The person moved on, but the pain remained. And now that pain is standing between you and the future I am calling you toward. Not because I am withholding your future, but because your hands are still gripping your past. My child, I want you to hear this carefully. Forgiveness is not saying what happened was acceptable. Forgiveness is not pretending the wound never existed. Forgiveness is not denying the pain. Forgiveness is releasing the right to carry it forever. Forgiveness is placing justice in my hands. Forgiveness is refusing to allow yesterday's injury to control tomorrow's destiny. And there are some people listening right now who have carried bitterness for years. Years. You have replayed conversations, replayed betrayals, replayed disappointments, replayed moments when someone hurt you. And every time you revisit them, the wound gains strength. The burden grows heavier, the chains tighten. But my child, you were not created to live chained to your past. You were created for freedom. That is why I am asking you to let it go. Not because the offender deserves it, but because you deserve freedom. Not because they earned forgiveness, but because I want peace for your heart. My beloved, there is another burden many carry. And it may be even heavier, the burden of self-condemnation, the burden of guilt, the burden of regret, the burden of blaming yourself. How many times have you replayed your mistakes? How many times have you wished you could go back? How many times have you questioned decisions you made years ago? How many times have you punished yourself for things I have already forgiven? Listen carefully, because this truth may set someone free. You keep asking me to forgive what I already forgave. You keep carrying what I already removed. You keep condemning what I already redeemed. My child, if I have forgiven you, why are you still holding yourself hostage? If I have given you grace, why are you denying yourself mercy? If I have released you, why do you remain imprisoned? The enemy loves regret because regret keeps your eyes fixed on yesterday. And anything that keeps your eyes fixed on yesterday makes it harder to see tomorrow. That is why regret must be surrendered, not ignored, not denied, surrendered, placed into my hands, left at my feet, released completely. Remember what my word says. Remember ye not the former things, neither consider the things of old. Isaiah 43:18. Notice the invitation. I am not calling you backward. I am calling you forward. I am not leading you into old pain. I am leading you into new purpose. I am not inviting you to live in old failures. I am inviting you into new possibilities, because something new is beginning, something beautiful, something prepared specifically for you. But it requires room in your heart, room in your thoughts, room in your spirit. And that room cannot exist if it is already occupied by yesterday's burdens. My beloved, imagine trying to receive a gift while your hands are full of stones. You cannot receive the gift until you release what you are holding. That is exactly what many people are doing spiritually. They are asking for peace while holding anxiety, asking for healing while holding bitterness, asking for freedom while holding resentment, asking for a new season while holding the old one. And today I am asking you to release the stones, release the burden, release the guilt, release the fear, release the offense, release the regret, release the disappointment, release the need to understand everything, release the need to control everything, release the weight, give it to me. I am strong enough to carry it. I always have been, my child. Something remarkable happens when you finally release what has been weighing you down. Your vision becomes clearer, your spirit becomes lighter, your faith becomes stronger, your heart becomes more open. And suddenly, the future no longer feels frightening, because you are no longer dragging yesterday behind you. That freedom is closer than you realize. In fact, even now, as these words reach your heart, I am inviting you into it. Not tomorrow, not someday, right now, because what I am preparing next requires freedom. What I am preparing next requires space. What I am preparing next requires trust. And there is something else I need you to understand. Some of the people you lost were not removed to punish you. They were removed to prepare you. Some of the relationships that ended were not failures. They were redirections. Some departures were actually answers to prayers you did not yet understand. And in the next part, I am going to reveal something that may completely change the way you see those losses. Because there were people I removed for a reason, people whose absence was not abandonment, people whose departure was part of my protection. And once you understand why, you will finally stop mourning some doors that were never meant to stay open. Because not every loss was a loss. Some losses were actually rescue, my beloved child. There is something I need you to understand, something that may heal a wound you have carried for far too long. Something that may finally bring peace to questions you have asked over and over again. Why did certain people leave? Why did some relationships end? Why did some friendships disappear? Why did some people walk away after promising they never would? Why did some connections that seemed so important suddenly fall apart? My child, I know those losses hurt. I know there were nights when you replayed conversations in your mind. Nights when you wondered what you could have done differently. Nights when you blamed yourself. Nights when you questioned your worth because someone chose to leave. I know. I saw every tear. I saw every moment of confusion. I saw every unanswered question. And today, I want you to hear something your heart desperately needs to understand. Not everyone who leaves your life is taking something from you. Sometimes they are making room for something greater. My child, one of the hardest lessons to learn is that not every connection is meant to last forever. Some people are assigned to a season, not a lifetime. Some people arrive to teach a lesson, not to stay permanently. Some people are part of the process, not part of the destination. But because you have a loving heart, you often try to hold on longer than necessary. You continue investing, you continue hoping, you continue waiting, even when deep inside you already know something has changed. And because letting go hurts, you resist it, you fight it, you pray for things to return to how they were. Yet sometimes what you are asking me to restore is something I am intentionally removing. Listen carefully, because this truth may change the way you see your past. Some departures were not rejections, they were redirections. Some endings were not failures, they were protection. Some closed relationships were not punishments, they were preparation. You see, my child, there were people I removed because they could not go where I am taking you. Not because they were evil, not because they were worthless, but because their assignment in your life had ended. And when an assignment ends, holding on creates unnecessary pain. You keep trying to revive something whose season has already passed. You keep trying to reopen doors that I have gently closed. You keep trying to preserve connections that no longer support your growth. And in doing so, you delay your own healing, my beloved. There are some people you lost whom you still miss deeply. You remember the good moments. You remember the laughter. You remember the closeness. You remember what once existed. And because those memories are precious, you struggle to accept the ending. But I need you to understand something. Missing someone does not mean they belong in your future. Loving someone does not always mean they belong in your next season. Appreciating someone does not mean they should remain in your life forever. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is bless the memory and release the attachment, because attachment to the past often prevents you from embracing the future. My child, the enemy often uses nostalgia to keep people trapped. He convinces them that what was is better than what can be. He convinces them that their best days are behind them. He convinces them that nothing ahead could compare to what they lost. But that is a lie, a dangerous lie, because if you believe your best is behind you, you stop expecting my goodness ahead of you. And if you stop expecting my goodness, you stop recognizing new opportunities when they arrive. That is exactly what the enemy wants. But my beloved, your best days are not behind you. Your greatest relationships are not necessarily behind you. Your greatest purpose is not behind you. Your greatest joy is not behind you. I am still writing your story, and I am not finished. Remember what my word says, every branch in me that beareth fruit, he purgeth it that it may bring forth more fruit. John 15:2. Notice that pruning is not punishment. Pruning is preparation for greater growth. A gardener removes healthy branches not because he hates the plant. He removes them because he sees future growth the plant cannot yet see. Likewise, there were relationships I allowed to end because I saw what was ahead. I saw what would hinder you. I saw what would distract you. I saw what would slow your progress. I saw what would keep you from becoming who I created you to be. And because I love you, I intervened, even when you did not understand, even when it hurt, even when it felt unfair, my child. Some people were comfortable with the old version of you, the version before growth, the version before healing, the version before transformation, the version before purpose started awakening. But as I began changing you, tension appeared, not because you were wrong, not because they were wrong, but because growth changes dynamics. Growth changes conversations. Growth changes priorities. Growth changes direction. And not everyone is willing to grow with you. Some people celebrate who you were, but resist who you are becoming. That is why separation sometimes happens, not as punishment, but as part of transformation, my beloved. There were also people whose departure protected your heart. You may not see it yet. You may still be grieving. You may still be questioning. But one day you will look back and realize I saved you from pain you never saw coming. One day you will understand why certain doors closed. One day you will understand why certain conversations ended. One day you will understand why certain people drifted away. And when that day comes, gratitude will replace confusion. Peace will replace regret. Clarity will replace questions. Because you will see my hand where you once saw loss. My child, I need you to stop measuring your value by who stayed and who left. Your worth has never been determined by human approval. Your value has never been determined by another person's decision. Your identity has never depended on who accepted you or who rejected you. Your value comes from me. I chose you, I formed you, I called you, I love you. That truth remains unchanged regardless of who enters or exits your life. And there is something beautiful I need you to know. Every departure creates space. Every ending creates room. Every closed chapter creates capacity for a new chapter. And right now, I am creating room. Room for healthier relationships. Room for deeper connections. Room for people who will support your purpose. Room for individuals who recognize the person you are becoming. Room for those who will walk beside you instead of holding you back. They are coming. You may not know their names yet. You may not recognize them yet, but I am already preparing those connections. Just as I prepared this season, just as I prepared this message, just as I prepared you, my beloved child. Do not fear the empty spaces. Do not fear the transitions. Do not fear the people I remove. Trust me, because every removal has purpose. Every pruning has purpose. Every ending has purpose. And what I am bringing into your life will make sense of many things that currently confuse you. In fact, something is already moving toward you. Something good, something unexpected, something closer than you realize. The blessing you have been waiting for is no longer far away. The answer is no longer distant. The preparation is almost complete. And in the next part, I will reveal why the blessing is much closer than you think. Closer than your fears suggest. Closer than your doubts suggest. Closer than your circumstances suggest. Because while you have been looking at what left, something extraordinary has been moving toward you all along. My beloved child, take a deep breath and let your heart become still for a moment, because what I am about to reveal is something your spirit has been longing to hear. For so long you have looked ahead and wondered how much longer. How much longer until the breakthrough? How much longer until the healing? How much longer until the answer? How much longer until the burden becomes lighter? How much longer until the season finally changes? You have asked these questions more times than you can count. Sometimes with confidence, sometimes with tears, sometimes with frustration, sometimes with quiet exhaustion. And I understand every one of those feelings, because I have walked beside you through every step of this journey. I saw the moments when hope felt strong. I saw the moments when hope felt fragile. I saw the moments when you believed. And I saw the moments when you struggled to believe. Yet through it all, I remained faithful. Through it all, I continued working. Through it all, I continued preparing what was ahead. And now, my child, I need you to understand something. The blessing you have been waiting for is closer than you think. Much closer. Closer than your fears suggest. Closer than your doubts suggest. Closer than your circumstances suggest. Closer than your tired heart has allowed itself to believe. Because what you see today is not the complete picture. You are standing in the middle of a process. And when someone stands in the middle of a process, they often cannot see how close they are to the outcome. A traveler walking through a long valley cannot always see the mountain peak just beyond the next turn. A farmer cannot always see the harvest while the seed remains beneath the soil. A mother cannot see the child while the baby is still developing within her. Yet growth is happening, preparation is happening, life is happening, even when it remains hidden. My beloved, that is where many people make a mistake. They assume that because they cannot see movement, there is no movement. They assume that because they cannot see results, there is no progress. They assume that because circumstances look unchanged, nothing is happening. But that has never been true, especially not in your life, because behind the scenes, things are moving. Conversations are moving, doors are moving, people are moving, opportunities are moving, answers are moving, pieces are moving, the blessing is moving, and much of it is happening beyond your ability to see. That is why faith matters. Faith allows you to trust before visibility arrives. Faith allows you to believe before evidence appears. Faith allows you to keep walking when certainty has not yet arrived. My child, there are moments in every journey when the breakthrough is nearest just before people give up. The enemy understands this. That is why he often attacks hardest near the end of a difficult season. That is why discouragement often increases when change is approaching. That is why fear grows louder when the answer is near. Because darkness wants you to quit one step before the breakthrough. It wants you to stop believing one step before the blessing arrives. It wants you to surrender one step before the door opens completely. But my beloved, do not quit now. Do not surrender now. Do not stop believing now. You have come too far. You have survived too much. You have grown too much. You have endured too much. You are closer than you realize. Remember what my word says. For I know the plans I have for you, saith the Lord. Plans for peace and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope. Jeremiah 29:11. Notice that I did not say, I have forgotten your future. I did not say I abandoned your hope. I did not say your purpose disappeared. I said I know the plans, even when you do not, even when you cannot see them, even when circumstances seem confusing. The plans remain, the purpose remains, the promise remains. And my child, so do the blessings I prepared for you. Some of those blessings may not look exactly as you imagined, because my wisdom is greater than human expectation. Sometimes you pray for one thing while I prepare something better. Sometimes you ask for relief while I prepare transformation. Sometimes you ask for survival while I prepare purpose. Sometimes you ask for restoration while I prepare abundance. And because my vision is larger than yours, what I provide often exceeds what you originally requested. You may not understand that today, but one day you will. One day you will look back and realize that many unanswered prayers were actually redirected prayers. One day you will see that many delays protected greater blessings. One day you will recognize how carefully I guided your path, and gratitude will replace confusion. My beloved, I know some of you listening feel tired. Not physically tired, spiritually tired, emotionally tired, mentally tired. You have carried the weight of uncertainty for a long time. You have fought battles nobody else fully understands. You have remained strong while feeling exhausted inside. And because of that, hope has sometimes felt difficult. But I want you to hear me clearly. Your exhaustion does not mean the blessing is far away. Sometimes exhaustion is simply evidence that you have been carrying a season for a long time. A season that is nearing completion. A season that is preparing to shift. A season that is preparing to release what it has been growing. My child, the harvest is always closest after the longest period of growth. The dawn is always closest after the darkest part of the night. The breakthrough is often closest when people least expect it. That is why I am asking you to hold on a little longer. Trust a little longer. Believe a little longer. Not because I want you to struggle, but because I know what is coming. And what is coming is worth the wait. The peace is worth the wait. The healing is worth the wait. The clarity is worth the wait. The restoration is worth the wait. The purpose is worth the wait. The blessing is worth the wait. Because what I am preparing is not temporary. It is not fragile. It is not shallow. It is built upon everything I have been teaching you, everything I have been shaping inside you, everything I have been developing throughout this journey. My beloved, there is something else I need you to know. Many people miss the blessing because they are looking for something dramatic, something obvious, something impossible to overlook. Yet often my greatest blessings arrive quietly. A new relationship, a new opportunity, a new understanding, a new peace, a new direction, a new beginning. And because it starts small, many people fail to recognize it. Do not make that mistake. Pay attention. Stay close to me. Remain sensitive to my guidance. Because the blessing may arrive in a form different from what you expected. But it will carry my fingerprints. It will carry my peace. It will carry my wisdom. It will carry my timing. And when it arrives, your spirit will recognize it. My child, there is already a sign that this season is changing. A sign many overlook. A sign that has been quietly growing within you. You are not the same person you were at the beginning of this journey. You think the greatest sign will appear around you, but often the first sign appears within you. The new peace, the new strength, the new understanding, the new trust. Those are signs, evidence that transformation has already begun. Evidence that preparation is working, evidence that the next season is approaching. And very soon, I am going to show you something even more powerful. A confirmation, a sign, a truth that many people miss entirely. A truth connected to why you are listening to these words right now. Because there is a reason this message found you. There is a reason your heart has stayed here. There is a reason your spirit continues listening. And in the next part, I will reveal why this very moment may be the sign you have been waiting for all along. Because the confirmation you keep asking for may already be in front of you. And once you recognize it, you will never doubt my presence the same way again. My beloved child, be still for a moment. Do not rush past what I am about to tell you, because many people spend years asking me for a sign that I am near. A sign that I have heard their prayers, a sign that their future is still secure, a sign that they are not walking alone. Perhaps you have asked for such a sign too. Maybe you whispered it during a difficult night. Maybe you asked it through tears. Maybe you asked it silently because you were afraid of being disappointed again. You said, Lord, just show me something. Give me a sign. Let me know you are still with me. Let me know I am not forgotten. Let me know this waiting season is not meaningless. My child, I heard those prayers, every one of them. And today I want to reveal something that many people overlook. Often the sign they are asking for is already standing right in front of them. But because it does not arrive in the form they expected, they fail to recognize it. Listen carefully, because this truth may change everything. You expected the sign to be dramatic. You expected an instant miracle. You expected a sudden breakthrough. You expected something impossible to miss. And sometimes I work that way, but often my signs arrive differently. Sometimes the sign is the strength to survive a season you thought would destroy you. Sometimes the sign is peace that appears without explanation. Sometimes the sign is a door quietly beginning to open. Sometimes the sign is a conversation. Sometimes the sign is a new opportunity. Sometimes the sign is a growing sense that something is changing. And sometimes the sign is the message you are hearing right now. My beloved, have you ever stopped to wonder why you are still listening? Out of all the voices in the world, out of all the distractions available to you, out of everything competing for your attention, why are you here? Why did this message find you? Why did these words continue speaking directly into places you rarely discuss with anyone? Why did your heart keep saying, keep listening? Why did something inside you refuse to walk away? Because your spirit recognized something your mind could not yet explain. Your spirit recognized my voice, not because every word is perfect, not because the messenger is perfect, but because I know how to reach my children. I know how to get your attention. I know how to speak directly to the areas where healing is needed. And that is exactly what I have been doing. My child, the fact that these words resonate with your heart is not random. The fact that certain parts seem to describe your journey is not random. The fact that you have remained here through this entire message is not random. Because long before today arrived, I knew you would be here. Long before you pressed play, I knew this moment would come. Long before you asked for a sign, I was preparing one. And perhaps the sign was not what you expected, but perhaps it is exactly what you needed. Remember what my word says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. Habakkuk 2:3. Notice something important. The promise does not disappear because it takes time. The vision does not die because it tarries. The answer does not vanish because it delays. It will come at the appointed time. Not your time, not the enemy's time, my time, and my timing is never wrong. My beloved, one of the greatest signs that your season is changing is not external, it is internal. Look at your heart. You are not who you were before. You have grown, you have matured, you have endured, you have survived. You have learned lessons that only the process could teach. The old version of you would have reacted differently. The old version of you would have quit sooner. The old version of you would have surrendered to fear. But not this version, because the process has changed you. The waiting has shaped you. The struggle has strengthened you. And that transformation is evidence. Evidence that I have been working all along. My child, many people miss my activity because they only look for visible miracles. Yet some of my greatest miracles happen within the human heart. The ability to forgive, the ability to trust again, the ability to hope again, the ability to believe again, the ability to keep moving forward. Those are miracles too, and I have been performing them within you, quietly, faithfully, patiently, every day, even when you did not notice. Especially when you did not notice, my beloved. There is another sign I want you to recognize. The enemy did not succeed. Think about that. After everything you faced, you are still here. After every disappointment, you are still here. After every setback, you are still here. After every attack, you are still here. After every lonely season, you are still here. You survived. Not because you were strong enough alone, but because I sustained you, I carried you, I protected you, I strengthened you, and your survival itself is evidence that my hand has remained upon your life. The enemy expected your story to end, but it did not. The enemy expected you to stop believing, but you did not. The enemy expected you to walk away, but you are still listening, you are still seeking. You are still hoping, you are still moving forward. And that is a sign, a powerful sign, because purpose still remains, calling still remains, destiny still remains. My plan for your life still remains. Nothing the enemy has done has changed that. Nothing. My child, as you listen right now, I want you to consider something. What if the confirmation you have been seeking is not coming tomorrow? What if it is already here? What if this message is confirmation? What if your survival is confirmation? What if your growth is confirmation? What if your renewed hope is confirmation? What if the peace beginning to rise inside you is confirmation? What if the fact that you are still standing is confirmation? Because all of those things point toward the same truth. I have not forgotten you. I have not abandoned you. I have not rejected you. I have not overlooked your prayers. I have not ignored your tears. I have not canceled your future. I am still working, and I always will be, my beloved. The sign was never meant to become your destination. The sign was meant to strengthen your faith for the next step, because there is still one final truth you need to hear, one final revelation, one final realization that will bring everything together. A realization that changes the entire meaning of this journey. You have spent so much time waiting for your life to change, waiting for the next season, waiting for the breakthrough, waiting for the transformation. But what if I told you something extraordinary? What if I told you the transformation has already begun? What if I told you the new season is not merely approaching? What if I told you it has already started? Not tomorrow, not next month, not someday in the distant future. Right now, as you have listened, as you have reflected, as you have opened your heart, something has already shifted. Something has already begun. And in the final part, I am going to reveal the truth that changes everything. Because the new season you have been praying for may have started while you were listening to this very message. And once you understand that, you will never see yourself the same way again. My beloved child, before this message ends, there is one final truth I need you to hear. Not tomorrow, not next week, not someday in the distant future, right now. Because everything we have talked about has been leading to this moment. The waiting, the tears, the battles, the disappointments, the silence, the lessons, the healing, the trust, the open door. Every part of the journey has been leading here. And now I want to reveal something that may completely change the way you see your life. You have spent so much time waiting for your new season to begin. Waiting for the breakthrough, waiting for the answer, waiting for the blessing, waiting for the sign, waiting for change. And because you were waiting, you assumed the new season was somewhere in the future. You assumed it was still far away. You assumed it had not arrived yet. But my child, what if I told you that the new season has already begun? What if I told you that while you were waiting for a future moment, transformation was already taking place? What if I told you that the shift started long before you realized it? Because the truth is this: the new season did not begin when circumstances changed. The new season began when you changed, and that change has already started, my beloved. Think back to the person you were when this journey began. Think about the fear, the uncertainty, the confusion, the exhaustion, the hopelessness, the questions. You were carrying so much. You were fighting battles few people understood. You were trying to stay strong while feeling weak inside. You were trying to keep moving while carrying burdens that felt impossible. And yet, you did not quit. You did not surrender. You kept walking. You kept praying. You kept believing. Even when it was difficult, even when it hurt, even when you did not understand. That matters more than you realize, because every step you took during the difficult season was shaping the person you are becoming today. Every prayer strengthened your faith. Every challenge deepened your wisdom. Every disappointment refined your character. Every delay expanded your trust. Every battle revealed your resilience. And slowly, quietly, almost invisibly, you began changing. The old version of you started fading. The new version of you started emerging. You simply did not notice it at first. Most people do not, because growth rarely announces itself. Transformation rarely arrives with noise. It happens gradually, one lesson at a time, one prayer at a time, one act of faith at a time, until one day you look back and realize you are no longer the same person. My child, that realization is beginning right now. You are not who you used to be. You think differently, you see differently, you trust differently, you respond differently. The things that once controlled you no longer hold the same power. The fears that once dominated you no longer sound as convincing. The wounds that once defined you no longer define your identity. The old season has been losing its influence. The new season has been growing within you, and that is why I say it has already started. Not because every prayer has been answered, not because every problem has disappeared, not because every circumstance has changed, but because you have changed. And when the heart changes, everything else eventually follows. Remember what my word says. Therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. 2 Corinthians 5:17. Notice what I did not say. I did not say all things will someday become new. I said they are becoming new. Transformation is already happening. Renewal is already happening. The process is already underway. And my beloved, that process is active within you right now. Even as you listen, even as you reflect, even as these words settle into your spirit, something is shifting, something is awakening, something is becoming stronger. Because the new season begins internally before it appears externally. That is my pattern. Before David became king, he became prepared. Before Joseph entered the palace, he was transformed in the prison. Before Moses led a nation, he was shaped in the wilderness. Before doors opened, hearts were prepared. Before promotion came, character was formed. Before blessing arrived, identity was strengthened. The preparation always comes first. And you, my child, have been living in that preparation for much longer than you realized. That is why I am asking you to stop seeing yourself as someone still waiting at the starting line. You are no longer standing at the beginning. You have already traveled through much of the journey. You have already survived the difficult chapters. You have already endured the hardest lessons. You have already walked through seasons that once seemed impossible. And because of that, you are much closer than you think. Closer to healing, closer to peace, closer to restoration, closer to purpose, closer to the fulfillment of promises, closer to the life I have been preparing, my beloved. There is one final lie I need to break before this message ends. The lie that nothing has changed. The lie that you are stuck. The lie that you are forgotten. The lie that your prayers accomplished nothing. The lie that your waiting was wasted. None of those things are true. The waiting was not wasted. The tears were not wasted. The prayers were not wasted. The battles were not wasted. The process was not wasted. Every moment carried purpose. Every season carried meaning. Every lesson carried value. And all of it has been moving you toward this very moment. A moment where you finally realize that I have been with you the entire time. A moment where you finally recognize that I never abandoned you. A moment where you finally understand that the story was never falling apart. It was coming together, my child. The enemy wanted you to believe that your journey was evidence of failure, but it was actually evidence of growth. The enemy wanted you to believe the silence meant abandonment, but it was preparation. The enemy wanted you to believe the delay meant rejection, but it was protection. The enemy wanted you to believe the struggle meant defeat, but it was training. And now, as you stand at the edge of this new season, I want you to remember something. You do not have to be afraid. You do not have to carry yesterday's burdens. You do not have to keep replaying old disappointments. You do not have to keep questioning whether I am with you. I am, I always have been, and I always will be, my beloved child. As this message comes to an end, I want you to hear these words as if they were spoken directly into your heart. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are not overlooked. You are not defeated. You are not behind schedule. You are not too late. You are not disqualified. You are not alone. I am with you. I am guiding you. I am strengthening you. I am preparing you. And I am opening doors that no one can shut. The season of waiting did not define you. The season of preparation strengthened you. And now the season of growth is already underway. Not tomorrow, not someday, now. Because while you were listening, while you were reflecting, while you were opening your heart, the transformation had already begun. The new season had already started. And that, my child, is the answer heaven wanted you to discover all along. Before you leave, if this message spoke to your heart, type, "My answer is yes." And if you receive this message in faith, type, "Amen." Because your story is not ending here. In many ways, it is only just beginning.